You know that feeling when you follow a recipe perfectly, use the best ingredients, but the final dish is just off? Well, believe it or not, the exact same thing happens in software development. So today, we're going to unpack this weird little puzzle using an analogy I think you'll like: building a Lego castle. Just imagine this. You've inspected every single Lego brick. They are all flawless, perfect. But then, the moment you connect your perfectly built tower to your perfectly built wall, the whole thing just wobbles and comes crashing down. This is a constant headache in software. You can have individual components that pass every test with flying colors, but they fail, and I mean spectacularly, the second you try and make them work together.
Well, this surprising and, let's be honest, usually frustrating outcome actually has a name. It's called emergent behavior. It's this core challenge in engineering where the system as a whole suddenly does something you could never have predicted just by looking at the parts. It really is like a ghost in the machine that only shows up once everything is assembled.
Okay, so let's look at a real-world case from the source material, not just Legos. You've got a piece of hardware for a car, an ECU. That's an electronic control unit, kind of like one of the car's mini-brains. It's been verified, it's perfect. Then you have the software, also fully tested and proven to be correct in a simulation. You put the perfect software on the perfect hardware and the system fails. So what gives? Well, it's that emergent behavior again. In this case, maybe they start fighting over memory resources, a conflict that was totally invisible when you were testing them separately.
Right, so to stop our Lego castle from falling apart, developers don't just, snap it all together and cross their fingers. No, they use a really structured approach to catch these emergent behaviors early. And that whole strategy is often visualized as a pyramid.
Now, this pyramid shape is really smart. It's all about efficiency. The bottom layer is wide because it's packed with tons of quick, simple unit tests. That's like checking every single Lego brick to make sure it's not warped. As you go up the pyramid, the tests get bigger, they get way more complex, and they take longer, so you do fewer of them. Our focus today is on that critical middle layer, integration testing. This is where we actually start connecting the pieces.
The real difference here, the thing you have to remember, is the question each type of test is trying to answer. A unit test asks, is this one brick molded correctly? It's simple, it's isolated. But integration testing, it asks a totally different question. It asks, when I snap these two bricks together, do they actually hold? Can this wall I just built support the weight of that tower? It is all about the connections.
So how do you actually put the castle together? I mean, you don't just start clicking bricks together at random, right? Real architects have different blueprints or strategies for assembling everything. We're going to take a look at the three most common ones.
First up, you've got what's called the Big Bang approach. This is basically like dumping all of your Legos on the floor, building all the little parts, the towers, the walls, the gate, separately, and then trying to jam them all together at the very end. Sure, it feels fast at the start, but if the castle collapses, and it probably will, good luck finding the one bad connection that brought the whole thing down. It's a debugging nightmare.
So, smarter ways to do this are top-down and bottom-up. Top-down is like starting with the king's chambers at the very top of the castle. Now, to hold it up while the lower floors are still missing, you have to use some temporary scaffolding, right? In software, we call these placeholders stubs. Bottom-up is the exact opposite. You build the solid foundation first, and then you use special tools to pretend they're the upper floors to make sure it's solid. We call those testing tools drivers.
And this slide shows you those two flows perfectly. The top-down approach on the left, that's great for catching big architectural problems early on. The bottom-up approach on the right is perfect for making sure your most critical, foundational pieces are absolutely rock solid before you dare build anything on top of them. Each strategy is designed to find different kinds of problems at different times.
But here's the thing. All of this testing we've talked about is still about finding flaws after you've already started building. What if you could prove your castle's design was perfect before you even laid the first brick? Well, that's where we get into a much more advanced, formal approach.
The fundamental problem with traditional testing is that it's just a simulation. As this great quote from the source material points out, you can't use it to check every single possible thing that could ever happen. Think about it. You can test your Lego castle by putting a fan next to it, but you can't test it against every possible gust of wind, from every angle for all of eternity. There are just way too many possibilities.
And this is where a really powerful technique called formal verification comes into play. It's a total game changer. Instead of running experiments to see if something breaks, you use pure mathematics and logic to prove that it cannot break, at least not in a certain way. It's all about providing a mathematical guarantee.
Okay, I know this diagram looks incredibly complex. Don't worry about understanding every single box. Here's the big idea. This is a workflow for taking the system's blueprint, the model, and translating it into a special mathematical language. Then, a super powerful computer program can analyze that language and actually prove that it's correct. It's like having a super genius architect who can look at the blueprints and spot a fatal flaw before a single person even touches a brick.
So we've been talking a lot about wobbly Lego castles, which is fun, but why does any of this actually matter in the real world? Because a shaky software system isn't just a fun little problem to solve. It can have huge, real-world consequences.
Look, the whole point of integration testing isn't just to find random bugs. It's on a mission to achieve these specific goals you see here. Making sure that different parts can talk to each other properly, that they work in sync, that they know how to handle unexpected errors gracefully, and most importantly, that you catch these problems early. This is the process that makes the final product stable, reliable, and secure.
And catching these integration problems early saves an absolutely massive amount of time and money. I mean, just think about it. It's way easier to replace one cracked Lego brick than it is to fix a crumbling foundation after the whole castle's been built, right? The data shows it can be 4 to 5 times cheaper to fix a bug you find during integration versus one you find after the product is already out in the wild.
And that really just leaves us with this final thought. From our cars, to our banks, to our power grids, our entire world is one giant, incredibly complex assembly puzzle. And integration testing, in all its forms, is that critical, often invisible craft that keeps the whole thing from just falling apart.